AI in the car is called Yui. Now, Yui's going to learn a lot about you as soon as you start driving the car.
You could have 10 yachts, a private jet, and still be told no when you try to buy one of these cars. These machines are not for sale to the highest bidder. They're not status symbols. They're legends, locked behind glass or hidden in secret labs. And even if you had all the money in the world, it wouldn't get you the key. These are the vehicles that make billionaires feel broke. So buckle up, because this isn't about luxury, it's about limits. Cars that were never meant to be sold. Some cars were never intended to be owned. They were born as dreams, shaped into metal, and then sealed away behind velvet ropes. Concept cars, showpieces, and one-off prototypes exist for one reason: to tease the future without ever letting anyone touch it. And no vehicle embodies this untouchable status better than the BMW Gina Light Visionary model. The Gina wasn't built with metal. Its skin is made of fabric stretched over a carbon fiber frame. You don't open the hood, you peel it. The headlights don't just turn on, they blink open. It responds like a living creature. The entire car feels as if it's breathing. But here's the thing, this wasn't just design flair. It was a statement. BMW wasn't asking for buyers, it was asking questions. What if a car didn't have to be hard? What if it could move like muscle, shapeshift to need? They never planned to sell it. They never even gave the public a price. Because for BMW, this wasn't inventory. It was an idea made real, and ideas aren't for sale. The same applies to the Mercedes-Benz Vision AVTR, a car inspired by the film Avatar. It doesn't have a steering wheel. It responds to the motion of your hand. It reads your pulse. It glows, moves sideways, and mimics life. It can crab walk across a parking lot or pulse with blue light as it accelerates. It isn't just futuristic, it feels alien. Built with a graphene-based organic battery, this car doesn't just avoid rare earth metals, it changes the way energy is stored. It's not built on a production chassis. It doesn't share parts with any other car, and it never will. This isn't a car built to sell. It's a glimpse into what Mercedes believes comes after cars. That kind of vision isn't on any showroom floor. Then there's the Renault Easy Ultimo, a mobile luxury lounge so extravagant that billionaires couldn't buy one even if they tried. Renault didn't build it for customers. They built it for experiences. It's meant to be part of resorts, 5-star hotels, private airports. Not to own, but to visit. Inside, it looks like a penthouse. Marble, wood paneling, plush leather, and lighting that shifts to your mood. The seats don't face the road. They face each other. This isn't a driver's car. It doesn't have a steering wheel at all. It's a moving parlor, a VIP suite on wheels. And because it's autonomous, it doesn't need your input, just your presence. But even if you offered a blank check, Renault would not sell it. Because ownership was never part of the plan. That's the defining feature of this category of cars. You can't buy what doesn't exist for sale. You can't collect what was only made once. And no amount of wealth gives you the power to rewrite that fact. It's not about price, it's about purpose. Each of these vehicles was created to inspire, to innovate, to push boundaries that no dealership is ready to offer. And so they remain behind the glass, untouchable, watching the world admire from a distance. It makes you wonder, if these cars weren't meant for garages, what other designs exist just to provoke imagination? How many other machines are out there not built to be driven, but built to change the way we think about motion? That question leads us into a new class of cars. They aren't just one-offs or showpieces. These were designed to move, built to run, but ended up trapped in limbo, promised to the public, admired by the elite, yet never released. Not because they weren't brilliant, but because they were too far ahead of their time. And for billionaires who lined up hoping to be first in line, all they got was silence. Let's take a look at the next category. Cars that were supposed to change the world, but never made it past the prototype stage. Cars that billionaires still can't touch. Sometimes a car is too early for its time. It holds innovations the world is not yet ready to accept. These vehicles are not hidden or imaginary. They were unveiled, showcased, and teased with promises of production. People lined up, checks in hand. Billionaires reserved slots, ready to be the first behind the wheel. But something happened. Delays, cancellations, shifting priorities. technology too advanced for current roads. And just like that, these automotive marvels disappeared before they could ever be delivered. One of the most infamous examples is the Aptera Launch Edition. Shaped like a spacecraft and built to run on sunlight, it's a three-wheeled vehicle that uses solar panels to charge itself daily. You could, in theory, never plug it in. Just leave it outside, and it will generate up to 40 miles of range every day from the sun alone. For most commuters, that's more than enough. The design is aerodynamic, with a coefficient so low that the air barely touches it. With a fully charged battery and solar energy combined, the Aptera promised a range of up to 1,000 miles. It accelerates from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. It is built with advanced composite materials, making it lighter than most modern sedans. And yet, despite receiving thousands of reservations, it has yet to be delivered to a single owner. Billionaires were among the early supporters, hoping to make it their next toy. But even they are waiting, as production is stalled in the final stages of development. Then there's the Cadillac Inner Space concept. Designed not as a car.
It's strange, the car, it makes it completely more elegant, makes it more elongated front fenders.
But as a tranquil lounge on wheels. With no pedals, no steering wheel, and no controls in the traditional sense, it offers fully autonomous driving wrapped in absolute luxury. The seats swivel outward to welcome passengers, like a living room greeting its guests. A giant wraparound screen offers entertainment, news, or mood lighting. Blankets, pillows, and mood-sensing AI adjust the atmosphere based on your stress levels. The doors lift upward. The roof opens like a clam. It is not transportation. It is therapy on wheels. But despite Cadillac's history of luxury and innovation, Inner Space remains a design experiment. There are no plans for mass production. You cannot buy one, not even with $100 million in your bank account. The Mini Vision, Next 100, is another surreal machine that billionaires cannot add to their collections. The car blends personalization with artificial intelligence, adapting its shape and settings to whoever steps inside. The exterior can display dynamic colors and messages. The steering wheel shifts sides depending on the driver's preferences, and the entire body morphs ever so slightly to optimize aerodynamics. Mini envisions a future of shared ownership, where a single car adapts to multiple users. But the most intriguing part? It cleans itself between trips. The concept was meant to change urban mobility forever. Yet, the vehicle was never meant to be owned by anyone. It was a concept to challenge how people think about car ownership itself, and so it remains out of reach, even for those who could afford 10 of them. The Toyota Concept I pushed boundaries not with speed or style, but with empathy. It features an artificial intelligence assistant called Yui, capable of detecting your emotions through facial expressions, voice tone, and biometric feedback. If you're feeling down, Yui adjusts the music and lighting. If you're stressed, it offers to take over the driving. It remembers your favorite routes, restaurants, and even emotional triggers. More than a car, it becomes a companion. This was Toyota's pitch. Not just a machine, but a friend. Yet, despite unveiling it with massive fanfare in 2017, it remains locked in concept limbo. Billionaires were eager to be the first to experience a truly empathetic vehicle, but none have gotten that chance. Because as advanced as Yui is, real-world deployment remains years away. Even the Bentley EXP 100 GT was too grand for reality. A massive electric Grand Tourer that can rotate its seats, project constellations on the ceiling, and learn your biometric rhythms. It represented Bentley's vision for the next 100 years of luxury, but it's not for sale. Not now, maybe not ever. The price is not the barrier, time is. The world is not ready for it, not the charging infrastructure, not the autonomous laws, not the materials. And so it sits in Bentley's museum, admired by the wealthy but untouchable even to them. These cars were shown to the world with full intention. They were not hidden from public view. Their specifications were printed, their test drives were filmed, and their innovations were loudly celebrated. But in the end, they were withdrawn. Whether due to regulation, production complexity, or market hesitation, they remain concept kings, crowned but never released. So what happens when a car is produced but made in such limited quantities, with such wild exclusivity, that billionaires still have to compete like everyone else. What if the vehicle is real? It exists, and yet no amount of wealth can guarantee you one. We are about to enter that world next. The most exclusive cars on Earth. There's a special kind of heartbreak for the ultra-wealthy. It is the moment they fall in love with a car, open their checkbooks, and discover they are too late. Not because the car is too expensive, not because the company refused to sell it, but because the car was built only once. It exists, it runs, it breathes power and precision, but it belongs to someone else, and no amount of money can bring it to your garage. That's the world of one-of-one vehicles. These are not concepts. They are not sketches or digital dreams. These are functional, roadworthy machines with working engines and real license plates. They were built for a reason, often as personal commissions or brand statements, and then locked away from the rest of the world. To even see one in person is rare. To drive one, that is reserved for the luckiest soul on the planet. Consider the Mercedes-Benz Vision AVTR, a car so far ahead of its time, it might as well be a spaceship. Inspired by the film Avatar,
this thing is super special.
the AVTR feels like it was designed not for Earth, but for a distant intelligent civilization. The wheels rotate 30 degrees, allowing the car to move sideways like a crab. The dashboard is replaced with an interactive projection system. There is no steering wheel, just a central pad that reads your pulse and breath. The interior is made of vegan leather and sustainable wood. Even the battery, built with graphene, charges faster and more cleanly than anything on the market. And yet, there is only one. Mercedes made it as a vision of the distant future, and it is not for sale. It has been displayed around the world, but no billionaire, no sheikh, no mogul can own it. It is priceless because it is not a product. It is an artifact. Another ghost car with real horsepower is the BMW Gina. Its entire body is made from a flexible fabric stretched over an aluminum and carbon fiber skeleton. It doesn't open with doors. It peels open like skin. The headlights blink. The hood splits open like a flower. The seats and dashboard morph to fit the driver's body. It's not a vehicle. It's a living machine. There is one in existence. It runs. It drives. But it has never been, and will never be, reproduced. BMW never intended it to go into production. It was their answer to a single question. What if a car could move like a muscle, not a machine? The Rolls-Royce Sweptail is another legend of exclusivity. Commissioned by an anonymous collector with a passion for luxury yachts and vintage aircraft, the Sweptail took 4 years to build. The exterior sweeps backward like a racing boat. The roof is one continuous pane of glass, arching over the cabin like a skylight in a cathedral. Inside, everything is custom. No buttons, only hidden touch surfaces and handcrafted wood panels. There is a briefcase compartment. A champagne cooler opens at the touch of a button. The price? A reported $13 million. And it doesn't matter, because even if you match it, Rolls-Royce will never make another. Then there's the Bugatti La Voiture Noire, French for the black car. Built as a tribute to the legendary lost Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic, this modern version is a symphony of carbon fiber and elegance.
Bugatti, to be recognizable, to be memorable, it has 4 elements.
With a 16-cylinder engine producing over 1,500 horsepower, it is both a tribute and a beast. The body is sculpted from hand-laid carbon fiber, polished to a mirror finish. The taillights stretch unbroken across the rear, glowing like a single beam. Bugatti announced they would build only one. Cristiano Ronaldo was rumored to be the buyer. Others lined up to bid. It was already spoken for. The Pagani Zonda HP Barchetta is another masterpiece. It was Horacio Pagani's personal vision of the perfect supercar, made to celebrate his brand's legacy. It has no roof. It uses rear wheel covers made of polished titanium. The seats are custom molded. The gearbox is exposed like a work of sculpture. Only 3 were ever made. 2 were sold. One belongs to Pagani himself. The other 2 have vanished into the hands of silent collectors who don't appear in magazines. Once again, money wasn't the gatekeeper. Timing was. What unites these one-off cars is not just design. It is purpose. They were made for statements, not sales. Some were personal, like the Sweptail. Others were symbolic, like the Vision AVTR. But all of them share one truth. They are already taken. Billionaires can try. They can call, offer, beg, but they will be met with silence or a polite, not for sale. Because ownership isn't just about money. Sometimes it's about being first, being favored, or being the one for whom the car was made. But what if a car wasn't one of one? What if it was part of a series, dozens made, or even hundreds, but it still eluded the richest buyers in the world? We look at cars where scarcity isn't defined by design alone, but by reputation, history, and who you are, not just what you have in the bank. Cars you need permission to own. Owning a rare car usually comes down to two things: money and timing. But what if even those are not enough? What if you could wire the funds instantly, show up at the factory with an open checkbook, and still be told no? That's the reality behind a special class of vehicles locked behind invisible gates. These cars are not one-of-one concept pieces, nor are they simply limited-run editions. They are pieces of culture, legend, and identity, and unless you're part of that world, you're not getting in. Take the Ferrari, La Ferrari Aperta. It is not the rarest Ferrari ever built, but it may be one of the hardest to buy. When Ferrari announced the Aperta, essentially an open-top version of the already ferocious La Ferrari, they didn't just list it for sale. They offered it only to a short list of past Ferrari clients. To qualify, you had to own at least 5 Ferraris already, but even that was not enough. Ferrari's team personally selected buyers based on loyalty, public presence, and how well their lifestyle matched the brand's image. If you were a collector who flipped cars for a profit, you were blacklisted. If you had only recently joined the Ferrari world, you were ignored. This car was not sold. It was bestowed. Ford followed a similar path with its GT reboot in 2017. When the company brought back its Le Mans legend, it did so with sharp limits. Only 1,000 initial units were built, and prospective buyers had to fill out an application form, not just a reservation. Applicants submitted videos, social media links, and proof of brand loyalty. Famous collectors and YouTubers applied alongside business titans. Even if you were selected, you had to sign a contract promising not to sell the car for 2 years. Wrestling legend John Cena broke that clause, and Ford took him to court. The message was clear: money doesn't make you eligible, passion does. Then there is Porsche, whose most prized modern offering, the 911R, was never openly marketed to the masses. Dealers called clients privately, often with no warning. If you got the call, you had a few hours to respond. If you didn't, the opportunity vanished. Porsche values loyalty in ways that are rarely made public. They remember who bought base models, who joined the club events, who never sold their classics. That heritage gives you access, and without it, even billions in the bank won't get you behind the wheel. Aston Martin raised the bar with the Valkyrie, a hypercar born from Formula One technology. Buyers weren't just interviewed, they were investigated. Aston Martin wanted to know how the car would be used. Would it be raced, stored, shown off at events? Would it ever leave the garage? The answers mattered. If the brand believed you wouldn't drive it properly, or worse, would treat it as a quick investment, they simply moved on to someone else. This wasn't a sale. It was a vetting process. Lamborghini's Centenario took this even further. Released to commemorate the 100th birthday of founder Ferruccio Lamborghini, it was made in just 40 examples, 20 coupes and 20 roadsters. But by the time the world even knew it existed, it was already sold out. Lamborghini had handpicked its most trusted clientele. Long before press releases went out or journalists got behind the wheel, the cars were spoken for, locked away in agreements between the brand and its top-tier insiders. No application, no negotiations, just a sealed deal. Even McLaren, typically more open to newcomers, shifted into secrecy with the Speedtail. This hyper-grand tourer was limited to 106 units, the same number as the legendary F1. Buyers were not just vetted, they were invited. Customization was handled one-on-one, with owners choosing details down to thread color and instrument layout. Some even had personal logos embroidered into the seats. McLaren never advertised the Speedtail in a traditional sense. It existed, but only for those already in the inner circle. These aren't just fast cars. They're statements, symbols of trust. Buying them isn't about financial power. It's about proving you belong in a private world of gatekeepers and legacies. The doors aren't locked with keys. They are guarded by prestige, protected by time, and opened only for those with history. You cannot knock and expect an answer. You have to be known before you arrive. But what happens when a car is not just kept out of reach through social circles, but hidden from public access entirely? What if it was designed for a government, restricted by law, or wrapped in military secrecy? What if you couldn't buy one, even if the manufacturer wanted to sell it to you? That's where we're headed next. We'll peel back the curtain on machines built in the shadows, prototypes, restricted imports, experimental beasts, and government-owned monsters. These are the cars no one is supposed to touch, let alone own. Ready to see what's behind the classified curtain? Cars the public was never meant to own. There are rare cars, there are exclusive cars, and then there are machines that were never meant for the public at all. These are not collector's items or special editions. They are the untouchables, vehicles engineered in secrecy, often funded by governments, militaries, or corporations with no intention of releasing them to the world. Sometimes they are too dangerous. Sometimes they are too complex. And sometimes they are simply too far ahead of their time. Whatever the reason, these cars exist in a space beyond ownership. Their keys never handed over, their doors locked with more than just a price tag. One of the most iconic of these is the Bugatti Veyron Black Bess. A one-off creation inspired by the 1913 Type 18. While 5 were technically built as part of Bugatti's Legends series, only one bore the Black Bess moniker with its specific gilded interior and hand-painted silk detailing. It wasn't available to just anyone. Buyers were hand-picked, not just based on wealth, but on whether they could preserve its artistic legacy. And when the car was delivered, it came with legal stipulations preventing public exhibition without prior consent. To own it meant agreeing to never truly share it. Then there's the Toyota GT1, a Le Mans prototype repurposed for homologation, but never intended to roam city streets. Built in the late 1990s, Toyota was required by racing rules to produce a road-legal version. They made exactly 2. Both are stored in a warehouse in Japan. Neither can be sold. These cars weren't made to be bought. They were made to satisfy regulations. And today, even if you could track one down, you'd find yourself blocked by export laws and internal policies that keep them sealed from civilian use. Another shadow dweller is the Cadillac 16, a concept car boasting a 16-cylinder engine that produced over 1,000 horsepower. It debuted in 2003 and instantly captured imaginations, but General Motors never intended it to leave the showroom floor. The engineering was real, the power was real, but the price to mass produce it was astronomical, and Cadillac quietly shelved the project. Today, the single prototype is locked away, maintained as a symbol of American ambition, too bold to build, too precious to destroy. The Dodge Tomahawk is perhaps the most extreme case. A V10-powered motorcycle built around a Dodge Viper engine, it was more sculpture than transport. Capable of theoretical speeds over 300 miles per hour, the Tomahawk was never road legal, yet several units were built and sold to collectors, but not as vehicles. Dodge sold them as rolling art, with documents clearly stating they were not to be registered or driven. Even billionaires could only own one if they promised never to ride it. Some cars are restricted by law. The Nissan R34 Skyline GT-R, for instance, was for years banned in the United States due to import restrictions under the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards. Enthusiasts found loopholes, importing them as show or race vehicles, but daily driving one was illegal, until the 25-year rule made them eligible. Before that, owning one wasn't just difficult, it was criminal. Customs agents would seize and crush illegal imports. People with the money were turned away at the port, powerless against bureaucracy. Then there's the McLaren P1 GTR, a track-only variant of the already exclusive P1. With nearly 1,000 horsepower and aerodynamic features too aggressive for the street, it was never road-approved. Buyers had to sign agreements confirming it would be used only at official McLaren-hosted track events or stored privately. Even attempting to make one road legal involved astronomical costs and multiple layers of re-engineering. For most, the only way to enjoy it was to watch it sit in a private showroom or fly to McLaren's own facility for a scheduled drive. Governments, too, have their hand in the world of untouchable vehicles. The Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 Blue Devil prototype was built for testing in extreme cold weather. When it was no longer needed, it wasn't sold. It was stored at General Motors' Heritage Center, a facility closed to the public. It exists. It runs. It is beautiful, but you will never see it unless you know the right person at GM. And even then, you will only look, not touch. And what about the Toyota Century GRMN? Based on Japan's most elite chauffeur car, the GRMN variant was tuned by Toyota's motorsports division. Only a few were ever made, and every one of them was assigned to executives or elite government officials. You cannot buy one, even in Japan. They are not listed, they are allocated. Even attempting to place a bid shows you misunderstand how the game works. These cars represent more than engineering. They represent decisions. Someone decided you should not have access, that they belong behind velvet ropes, inside reinforced garages, or hidden beneath corporate vaults. That ownership itself is a privilege not granted, but withheld. But what happens when a car is so expensive, so custom, so infused with jewels, art, and history, that it becomes more than a vehicle? What if it becomes a throne on wheels, a symbol of royalty, a work of art that drives? What comes next are not cars. They are rolling monuments. We enter a world where cars are one-of-one masterpieces, custom-built for kings, queens, and moguls. And the price? It might not even be in dollars. Rolling thrones of the ultra-elite. There are concept cars. Then there are commissioned legends. Vehicles built just once, never duplicated, and impossible to acquire regardless of status or net worth. These machines exist outside the traditional automotive world. No showroom, no release date, and certainly no resale value. Their entire purpose is exclusivity. They belong to kings, sheikhs, heads of industry, and sometimes no one at all. Take the Rolls-Royce Sweptail. A one-off custom coupe created for a mystery buyer. Inspired by classic yachts and coach-built bodies of the 1930s, it took nearly 5 years to design and cost a rumored $13 million. But even that number is speculative. Rolls-Royce never confirmed a price. They simply handed the keys to the one person on Earth it was built for, making it unattainable by definition. Then there's the Bugatti La Voiture Noire. Not a prototype, not a collector's edition, a true one-of-a-kind tribute to Bugatti's racing heritage. Jet black, wildly sculpted, and fitted with a quad-turbo 16-cylinder engine. Only one exists, and its owner remains anonymous. Even billionaires with open checkbooks cannot request a second. And perhaps most elusive of all is the Maybach Accelero. Built for a tire company as a test platform, then acquired by a private collector. It has changed hands quietly, whispered about at auctions, but never confirmed. It doesn't have a market price. It simply has a legacy. These aren't just cars, they're artifacts, and they mark the final frontier of what money can't buy. Even in a world ruled by money, some machines still live beyond it. These rare creations are not simply engineered. They are imagined, dreamed, and sculpted into existence. They remind us that the highest form of luxury is not ownership, but access. You don't drive these cars. You witness them. Which one would you choose if you could pick just one? Drop it in the comments and let's see whose taste reigns supreme. Like, subscribe, and buckle up for our next ride through the most forbidden garages on Earth. See you there.